I'm Stuart Hurst, founder at Cloud 10 Accounting and also head of accounting here at ApprovalMax. So I would say pre-ApprovalMax life was quite fragmented and control procedures weren't standardized. The biggest reason for ApprovalMax being a relevant solution for us was the fact that we were wanting to grow our client base and size of clients and move into things like outsourced finance functions and more complicated areas. So things like purchase order approval, payment runs, and those kind of things generally need strong controls. If you're a bit slapdash with the controls or it varies from person to person, then you can soon get yourself in a bit of a mess. And so I remember when we first did a trial, much like any app at first, you are kind of trying to find your feet with what things look like, where to start and where to begin. So we always like to try stuff on our own things first internally. So I remember the first thing we did was let's just plug it into our own practice and let's just see how it rolls. And I think for us, it was just taking each section at a time. So it's quite bite-sized, it's user-friendly in terms of setup, and the core setup doesn't take more than a few minutes, to be perfectly honest. The skill then is refining it to work for your business and know where. It's more, what it does is it highlights, whoa, we've got gaps in our process here and there are holes, and ApprovalMax shines a bright light on that, to be perfectly honest. So the biggest shock is just kind of that sense of, okay, right, well, we need to rewrite the process here. Like, it's not the app that needs the work, it's our own business. So from a bit of a health check, keep fit for your own business, like that was the biggest thing I remember from the trial was, well, hang on, there are a lot of fingers here that can touch this data, and we're probably being too trusting, truth be told, in our own practice. So it changed the way that we thought about that to start with, and that, from what I remember, was the biggest impact of the trial. And then it was, okay, how do we roll out clients? And again, for me, it's two processes, like the app itself, the rollout, piece of cake, build the process, life is good. It's the thinking around the people and the culture that is in itself and a separate map, if you like, and piece of work. So there are two opportunities from an accounting perspective to roll out pieces of work from a process side of view and a kind of people and culture view. And that's kind of the route that we took with it very early on when we saw it firsthand in our own practice. The key benefits, once ApprovalMax is kind of set up and settled through that trial process, I mean, the most obvious one is controls. There is a process. I mean, it's amazing how many accountants I speak to and I say, where are your process maps for anything? And it's there. That's where the map lives. So having an actual process mapped out for some of your key controls is absolutely vitally important. But secondary, but perhaps more importantly, but it often comes secondary, is the fact that you've got something that's a bit more commercially ready to sell to other clients and other firms. And we saw, the uptake of the outsourced finance function and controls around POs and certainly making payments. Like, we were much more confident selling it because we had this control. And sure enough, the revenue grew, the uptake of that grew because we had a product, if you like, and a service that we could then kind of shape and sell as something, instead of it being a bit of a hodgepodge prior to ApprovalMax of what it actually was that we were doing and actually selling. So from a commercial aspect, if you want to get into outsourced finance function and controls, then ApprovalMax is an absolutely fantastic place to start for that. So we see a number of benefits to clients as well, and we often get, it's nice to get the great feedback once it's settled in. One of the biggest ones that springs to mind was a manufacturer in the kind of solar and heating area that ordered a hell of a load of parts, hell of a load of batteries, panels, wires, all sorts and everything, huge POs. And it only came to light once ApprovalMax was implemented, is that half of the stuff wasn't being delivered, but was being paid for. So there were thousands of pounds, and I mean thousands of pounds a month, that were being paid for stock that had never arrived.